TransitionDiscoveries.org is a community effort by young people with disabilities, family members, and transition stakeholders across the state of Pennsylvania and beyond. In this short webinar, we'll first give you a how-to for what's on TransitionDiscoveries.org and how to find it. After this quick lay of the land, you'll hear from a transition stakeholder from one of the TD communities. They're going to give you a rundown of how to use this site and how you can use it too. After that, we'll wrap up this presentation with Dr. Joan Kester as she gives you more information about the history, mission, and future of Transition Discoveries. So, are you ready to explore TransitionDiscoveries.org? This is your one-stop shop for all things preparing for success after high school. Before you dive in, here's a super quick overview of what's here and how to find it. Everything begins with the homepage. Here you'll find information about our resources on this site and how to access them, like the Transition Discoveries infographic guide, activities, and lesson plans. There are also links on the homepage to get connected with Transition Discoveries and transition in your community. See that menu at the top of this page? Well, that's how you'll move around the site. After the homepage, there is part of the menu called About Us. When you hover your mouse pointer over it, a drop-down menu will appear with plenty of places for you to explore. In fact, there are drop-down menus that appear for each menu item at the top of the site. By the way, the About Us page will tell you who we are and what we do, and a little bit about all the awesome people who make TransitionDiscoveries.org possible. Here's where the really good stuff is waiting. Click on the Framework menu item and you'll be transported over to a space where you can learn about all things that should happen to prepare for success after high school and throughout life. Start off by exploring the first menu item called Our Framework. This explains a bit more about all of the categories in this menu. There are 9 pages, 1 for each category. Each page is written for young people to learn about specific areas of preparing for success after high school and throughout life. There are videos explaining the topic in a minute or two, as well as short text blurbs with key info. It's helpful to think of the 9 categories as the branches of a big tree, the Transition Discoveries tree. Each branch has leaves, and so do our 9 main categories, but instead, they're subtopics. You can access videos, information, and activities for each category and subtopic by clicking on their icon. Hey transition stakeholders, we didn't forget about you. Here's something to get really excited about. See the menu item called Resources? Well, the Transition Discoveries team has created a complete curriculum based upon the 9 areas of the Transition Discoveries framework and their sub-areas, which there are 54 of in total. So we have 54 transition lesson plans with all needed handouts for activities and assessment. All lesson plans are even aligned with the Common Core standards. We also have 54 tip sheets for young people to engage in self-guided learning around transition before and during these lesson plans. These have a heavy emphasis on them learning skills and trying things out in the real world, like preparing to lead their IEP meeting. Each tip is aligned with a lesson plan. Think of it this way. Young people start off learning about transition on the pages within our framework. Then, by doing a tip sheet of activities related to one of those categories, they start to build their knowledge. Transition stakeholders can then extend their knowledge and learning further by using one of our lesson plans in our curriculum with their young people. But wait, before we go and you start exploring, there are even more spaces to learn on TransitionDiscoveries.org. We have a What Works Data Hub with information about effective transition practices in communities that partner with Transition Discoveries. Check out that page's video for more information. Speaking of partners, The project section of the site will give you information on our current work with communities. Wouldn't it be awesome to hear about transition success stories in these communities? How about reading a blog around an effective transition practice that you might use in your own work? The What's Happening section of the site has you covered. Be sure to also check out our social media and event calendar in this section of the site. And finally, if you're ready to get involved with Transition Discoveries, jump on over to the Get Connected page. Next up, we have a transition stakeholder from one of our communities. They're going to talk with you about how they use this awesome site and resource.
Hello, I'm a transition coordinator and want to take this opportunity to show you the Transition Discoveries framework and website, and to talk about what a great resource it's been for our school district and our educators to help our students in their transition planning by empowering them to use their voice and helping them think about where they see themselves in the future and what they need to do to get there. We've done this by using the framework, and as you can see here, there are 9 indicators with a total of 54 sub-indicators. I'd like to take a minute to show you one of these indicators and the vast amount of resources that is available within it. Also, as you can see, the content on this website is presented in a very youth-friendly manner, in a way that promotes the youth to be the driver of this process. Let's take a look specifically at the employment indicator. As you can see here, there's a very youth-friendly description of how students can prepare for employment, as well as a video link that provides quick tips on how they can move forward in setting and obtaining their goals. As you scroll down, you can see the sub-indicators that fall under employment, and by clicking on each of these, you will find additional resources, questions, tips, and suggestions students can use to move forward on their employment goals. Let's take a look specifically at paid work experience. Again, the content on this page is presented from a youth perspective and includes a video that describes the benefits of paid work experience and the supports and steps that a student can take to obtain this type of experience while in high school. You can also see here that there are success stories directly from youth themselves on how paid work experiences have helped them. Also, there are additional resources available to youth and educators to help with any of these indicators and sub-indicators that you can access here through a link at the bottom or through the top resources menu. Once on this page, you can see that you can search for resources by indicator or sub-indicator, by pre-employment transition services, or by resource type. Again, let's take a look at the employment indicator and see the resources that are available. As you can see, there are different activities like budgeting and scavenger hunts, as well as tip sheets available for each of the sub-indicators. Looking here, you can see there's a tip sheet on career exploration. This resource provides students links and activities that they can do to further learn about themselves and careers. Please check back to the resource page often, as resources are continually being added, including lesson plans for each of the indicators and sub-indicators for educators that will soon be available for use.
Let's wrap up this presentation by putting all of these tools and resources into context. Here is Dr. Joan Kester to share with you how TD came to be and our team's approach to putting the work in framework.
At Transition Discoveries, we believe that young people with disabilities, their families, and stakeholders have the knowledge, skills, and ability to create successful transitions in their communities. Through relationships, your knowledge and experience comes together to help figure out your strengths and in what areas you can use those strengths to help you grow. Together, you are the experts on what works for preparing for life after high school and beyond. Using a youth-led, youth-driven approach, you will see connections building through opportunities at home, school, work, and in your community. When young people and their families know about and understand what supports and programs are available to them, They are empowered to advocate for themselves and access the tools they need to achieve their transition goals. The Transition Discoveries website was created using resources and collected data to support and empower youth, their families, and stakeholders in communities like yours. Call it one-stop shopping. This is a place for all things transition. We know that when communities work together, we can achieve more, and young people have more opportunities for success. By listening to the dreams and goals from communities across the state, we were able to identify the areas of transition that we know lead to successful outcomes. Because we know that you are the experts, our framework allows you to customize a roadmap that works for you. There's a lot to think about. We can't do this work alone, and that is why we have partnered with the George Washington University, the Pennsylvania Developmental Disabilities Council, the Parent Education Advocacy and Leadership Center, the Pennsylvania Youth Leadership Network, and the Pennsylvania Training and Technical Assistance Network. When we combine our efforts, we are able to amplify your voices using your knowledge and experiences to help reach your goals. Transition Discoveries connects young people, families, and stakeholders to implement community-wide action plans that result in improvement of transition practices, programs, and outcomes for young people. Currently, transition services are defined by law, regulations, and policies that often result in multiple systems that do not provide the opportunities and support that young people need to reach their educational, employment, and independent living goals. However, through our collaborative learning experiences with young people, we have been able to develop a framework of effective transition-related support through videos, tip sheets, lessons, and more. So, the big question is, how does all this work? We listen to the dreams and goals of community members just like you. We use that feedback to create the Transition Discoveries framework, which is a roadmap to creating successful transitions from high school. Through an inclusive, youth-driven approach, we collected and developed resources, activities, and lesson plans that together make up collaborative learning experiences for young people and their families to build their transition knowledge and skills. Young people, families, and stakeholders have the opportunity to use our Transition Quality Indicator Survey, where they answer questions about their transition experience, including what works well and where there are areas for growth within transition practices and programs across their community. Together, young people, families, and stakeholders form transition change agent teams. It's in these teams, known as the TCATs, that they amplify their voices, combine their knowledge and experiences, and most importantly, take charge of efforts to improve transition opportunities in their communities. Using our community-driven action planning model, these change agent teams draw upon data collected from the TD Quality Indicator Survey and combine their strengths and experience to improve areas for growth with solutions and collaborative action. All of this collaboration allows for improvement to systems which we define as the web of relationships between young people, families, and stakeholders across schools, agencies, and the community. Together, we can increase access to inclusive programs, services, and opportunities for reaching goals for life after high school. To learn more about the ways we are making this all happen, check out the projects we're involved with on our Connecting Communities page. If you want to see how the dreams and goals of community members have come together, check out our framework page. Or if you'd like to access some of the innovative resources we've combined, head over to the resource page.